all for coming to my session. I hope you have still some energy left. I mean, it's the end of the conference, and probably a lot of people want to go to their homes. But yeah, so my talk, I was asked to present about building a scalable learning platform using cloud and containers. Yesterday, I was looking through my slides, and I thought, like, hey, we have this learning platform. I want to teach you something. So why not use my own platform to teach you how our platform works? So it's a bit inception. It's eating my own dog food. And it's a bit of a challenge for me, because this is the first time I'm doing it like this. I completely reworked my slides this morning and transferred them into the platform. I also added some challenges, but we'll see, and hopefully it will all go okay. What you see here is a challenge on Instruqt. Instruqt is a learning platform, but I will talk about that in the challenges itself. So I start the challenge, and it unlocks the first one. So it asks me to introduce myself. All right. What should I do? Okay, in the meantime, it's spinning up the infrastructure for the challenge itself. And I need to answer the questions correctly. So that would be my assignment. But before I start this, who has played on the arcade machine already, which is in the main area? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, cool. If you haven't, please do so. It's a lot of fun to solve challenges around development, operations, and we even have a blockchain track. So if you want to learn more about that, please go there. Okay, so my infrastructure is started, and I'm starting my challenge right now. And it asks me, what is my name? Well, my name is Bas Tichelaar. So I enter my first name. My current role within Instruqt. Within Instruqt, I'm doing development, marketing, a bit of everything. I'm a co-founder, so I'll put in developer. All right, what company do I work for? Well, that's the company Instruqt. Instruqt is a subsidiary of Xibia, which is a Dutch consulting firm. But we're a spin-off, and we're trying to build this learning platform for developers where they can learn stuff by doing. And where do I live? I live in the Netherlands. And my background in IT, is this readable? Yeah, it is. Okay, check. My background in IT, I worked as a consultant doing architecture, cloud, DevOps, the whole container movement. I was involved in Docker trainings, etc. All right, so I entered my answers. Let's check if I did it correct. Oh, I entered my full name. Crap. All right, full name. Check again. I'm not a developer anymore. Okay, I'm doing more marketing right now. Let's check. All right, so I passed my own challenge, and let's continue with the next one. So a little bit more about Instruqt itself. Instruqt is a knowledge-sharing platform. So instead of watching videos and reading documentation and sharing wikis with each other, we have created a platform where you can share hands-on knowledge and share it with your co-workers or with the whole world if you want. So let's first check how you guys share knowledge with each other or with your company. Okay, I have to ask the audience the questions displayed on the left. How do engineers share knowledge? Answer the questions in number of hands. Okay, how many of you are writing documentation to share knowledge with each other? That's a lot. That's like 80%. Okay, organizing meetups. Who's organizing meetups in their own company? That's about 10%, I guess, 15. Creating examples for each other. It's a little bit more, okay. Pair programming. That's about half, cool. And who just sucks at knowledge sharing? Oh, that's also a lot. All right, that's also 50%, okay. Apparently we have a great product to improve that, thanks. All right, let's check. This was easy. Okay, the next one. So we believe that learning should be doing. So instead of watching videos, completing tutorials, you should actually get hands-on experience with the tools or the code that you work with. Compared to a driver's license, you have your theory, but you also have to drive a lot in order to become more proficient as a driver. So what we've built is we have a platform that solves hands-on challenges. You have to solve hands-on challenges, and we validate the solutions. So how does that work exactly? Well, it's twofold. On one side, you can consume the content that's already on there. On the other hand, you can teach others by contributing content yourself. So you can create tracks and you can create challenges for your coworkers. And other use cases of the platform are doing assessments or providing demos if you're a product company, or even training if you have a product and you want to reach all your customers. So let's start with a simple challenge, how it looks in Instruqt itself, because this is just like a meta presentation. So what I did is I have one tab which contains the logs of the backend. So I'm going to show you how it actually works, what we're actually doing. So this is a kubectl log that is tailed on a challenge itself. And let's see the challenge. Okay, I have to do a test. In the second tab, I have a Git challenge running on Instruqt in Instruqt. So that's a bit the weird part of this stuff, but I tried to do it. And I have to complete the first challenge. But at the same time, I will show you what happens on the back end when we do that. So this is an iframe. You can put everything in there if you want. But this is actually a challenge within a challenge. So I'm going to solve that now. Let's first make this full screen. And let's restart the Git track that we've made. So for example, if you want to learn Git, you have a Git track which shows you just enough information to complete the challenge. So for example, this shows you how to work with Git. It has 3 trees and a working directory. Well, I'm not going to bore you with this stuff, but I have to finish the first assignment to complete this. So there is a repository, and I need to create a file in that. If I do the check right now, okay, there's no file in there. Touch readme.md. I have to add it to the staging area. And now I'll check it again. Okay, done. So let's look back at the logs. What happens? The moment I started the challenge, it's called Terraform. Terraform, who knows about Terraform? Yeah, probably all of you. For those of you that don't know Terraform is used to provide you with infrastructure. It's a declarative way to define what you want instead of how you want it. And we use it to programmatically request certain infrastructure that belongs to the challenge. So in this challenge, we have, this is the output of Terraform itself. So what it did when I started the Git challenge is it created a namespace on our Kubernetes cluster. Everything is running in Kubernetes, and the Git challenge itself runs in a confined container on top of Kubernetes, which is only accessible for me. So it's specifically my infrastructure. The moment I press start, it spins up that infrastructure. It also adds as an SSH key, a cluster port, a service, and all kinds of stuff. So a service, authorized keys. And then it tries to connect to the container, because we need to know, like, is it already accessible and can the user use it already? So it retries the SSH port. Okay, once it succeeds, it retries the TTI service that we have running. And at some point, it says, okay, I can proceed. And then it starts the setup. So for each challenge that we create, you have a setup, which defines the initial infrastructure, or the initial setup within that container. So it initialized an empty container, as you can see here. And the next step is that I pressed the check button when I was finished. So it checked the challenge. So it executed the check. It does so by going via SSH to the container, running the check command there. It's just a bash command, and validating if it's correctly or not. So in the end, it removed the file and the challenge was succeeded. So let's go back from the full screen. Let's see if we have this. All right. So Is this all clear to you? Like, are there any questions? Just raise your hand if there are any. I mean, I'm happy to explain it, but we can also do it later on. No questions yet? All right, then I'll just continue with explaining what's behind the scene. So what did it just create? Well, I was quickly explaining it already, going through the logs. But the moment I press start, it's created a namespace, specifically for me as a participant. And in that, it created a pod container, a pod containing a container, which runs TTY, SSH, and the SSH keys that we need to connect to that container. And we use Terraform for that, but we use it in a really different way than you normally would use Terraform. Normally you would collaborate with your colleagues and do a Terraform apply, but just as a manual action or as part of your CI/CD pipeline. But we run it every time when a user starts a challenge and we create infrastructure for him. So how does it work? I will show you later how the config looks like. But what it does, it combines a config file, a config YAML, which I will show you, together with a Terraform template, and it merges that into a render template, and that template gets applied onto the infrastructure. So it could be that it creates the namespace and a pod in there, but it could also be that it creates a VM or a cloud account or whatever you want. And as a teacher or as a contributor, you could define your own infrastructure and define what you want to be created for the participant to solve his challenge. Once it's applied, it applies the infrastructure, of course, but what it also does, it saves the state of the file, of the Terraform. It saves it in a bucket. And that's required for us because after the participant has completed the challenge, we need to remove everything that's being created. So we need to keep the state and remove it afterwards to clean it up again. So, as I said, Terraform also makes destroying infrastructure a breeze because the state is in that bucket and the track container just calls Terraform destroy and it removes everything it has created for that specific player of the track. So, Instruqt itself is a platform, but you might ask yourself, like, how does contributing content work? Like, this is like the front end of the platform, but how can I contribute content myself? And I will quickly demo that. But in fact, it's pretty easy. As I said already, you define the infrastructure, which is the config YAML that I just told you about. You write the challenges, and you can write that yourself using Bash or using Python, whatever you want. You can add nodes, so these are the nodes that you actually see. It's just all markdown, which is in a YAML file, and it's being rendered when you push the track to the platform. And in the end, you have to push the track to the platform, and you can specify if it's published, so if it's accessible for the whole world, or if it's only accessible for me and my co-developers, so we can collaborate on it and publish it later. So let's quickly build a new track to demonstrate how this works. Okay, so my assignment is I have to create, there's a bug here. I have to create a new track using the command line client with the following properties. The track name should be demo for container days. I need to define the infrastructure, which is an Ubuntu container that exposes port 80. And it needs to have 128 megabytes of memory and one challenge. Okay, so how it works is I have a command line client called Instruqt. And Instruqt is a bit like the Heroku workflow. Have you ever worked with Heroku? Some people will have. Well, the idea is that you have a command line client which does some heavy lifting for you, but you need to create the content yourself, you need to version it yourself, and once you think it's ready, you push it to the platform, and then all the magic happens, which I will also show you later on. But right now, we are going to create a new track. So it's Instruqt track create, and I have to specify a title, demo for container days 2018. All right, so what it just did is it created a skeleton directory containing the config YAML and the track YAML, which I will be showing right now. This is the config YAML. Well, the cloud part, we don't need it right now because we only need an Ubuntu container. But in here, I can define how my infrastructure looks like. It's a simplified description language for us to render the template and to actually create the infrastructure later on. So we have an Ubuntu image, and we need to expose some ports. Port 80, and we need to up the memory a bit to 128 megabytes. And now I need to add a challenge. I'll first show you the track YAML, how it is empty. So this is like the main part of the platform, but this is just empty metadata right now. But it contains the slug, the icon that you see in the track listing, but also the description and a list of challenges. So I will add a challenge to it, and you will see what happens. Challenge create. First challenge. All right, so if we open it up again, you see that it added the challenge to the track YAML. And I can modify this challenge. For example, we have a teaser, which is just like a placeholder. These are the notes. The notes are the screens that you just saw when I was going through it. And you have an assignment. And in the end, you have the tabs. And the tabs are like what you want to display here and what you want to expose to the user in the end. So let's just keep it all really simple. Instruct track build. So now it starts building the track. It pushes, it uploads all the files to our server. It builds a container out of it. And I also have to do an instruct track import. And that imports the track YAML, which is used for the description and stuff. So if everything went correctly, I go to the second tab, and this is again Instruqt in Instruqt. I'm putting it in the iframe. Let's refresh this page and see if we have a demo in here. It should be on the bottom because it's unpublished yet. As you can see, here it is. This is the demo for Container Days 2018. But these are all the placeholders. But this is all it takes to add a challenge and to add a track to the platform. So you might think, yeah, that's easy. That's just like a hello world stuff. You do two commands, you upload it, and that's it. So let me show you how this one looked. What happened when we pushed the tracks. So what happens is that I did a post of the whole track to the track builder, which is something we created. But the only thing it does is it combines everything, it generates the templates, and it uploads the resulting stuff to a bucket. And then it triggers Google Container Builder, which does the heavy lifting for us. We don't build our containers ourselves, because then we need to scale our own CI/CD and stuff. But we use Google Cloud Container Builder for that. You just specify like, okay, I want to build these, using these steps, I want to build these containers. And in the end, it builds the image and it pushes it to the Google Container Registry. So we don't have to take care of the building parts. So also the deployment of the track is fully automated. So the track builder itself connects to the Google Cloud Container Builder again. It generates a Kubernetes file, a YAML file, and it deploys the track container on the platform. And then it can be reached for the user when he starts the track. So at the moment it's being posted to Kubernetes. It just does a blue-green deployment. It switches the old container for the new container, and it's all working again. So let me show you a real track. And in fact, this is the track of the presentation itself. So this is what I built this morning, and yeah, everything is in here. So as you can see, we have the config YAML, we have the track YAML, but there are also a lot of directories. And each of these directories contain the check scripts and the setup scripts that I needed for this challenge. So for example, let's first take a look at the config YAML, which is really simple. I don't have to expose any ports because I'm not using a web server or whatever for the user to communicate with. And I only specify the memory. So this is a simple one. And this is the output of the track itself. So as you can see, the description here is just all YAML file, all YAML code. And it has a list of the challenges. So as you can see here, this was the first challenge. And this was displayed on a node. And let me quickly check. Yeah, for example, this one exposes multiple tabs, which uses the terminal tab and a website as well. So it's all built in this YAML file, and the moment I need to change something, I can make a change here and push it again to the system. And in all these directories, let me show you how a check works. Let's see So the script that was running in the first one, it's just a really simple script to capture input and to compare it. But it's just like a simple bash script. So it asks me, what's my name? It reads the output, what's my role, etc., etc. And it makes sure that the questionnaire is being run when I start the challenge. And the moment I press the check button, the check script is being run. And this just checks like if that file exists and if it contains the right string. If not, it will display an error. So you can really simple, with some bash scripting, you can really easy create these checks yourself. But these are all like really simple checks for this track. But my assignment is to add a sentence to this assessment itself. So let me change that. That's the track YAML. So show these tracks. So as you can see, here are the nodes, and this is the assignment itself. So hello from container days. Instruct track import. And when I do a refresh, as you can see, it's instantly pushed. On the back end, it just updates it, and it's really easy to make changes to it. So, to wrap this up, what did we use to build Instruqt itself? Well, Instruqt is built completely on top of Kubernetes, so we're leveraging everything that Kubernetes has to offer us. We leverage the services, secrets, namespaces to isolate participants from each other. And Instruqt itself consists of Golang microservices. We use React and GraphQL on the front end, and we use a lot of Terraform templates. For each of the types of infrastructure that you create, we have different types of templates. And we have a lot of bash code. And of course, we use a lot of GCP services. So we use GKE, which allows us to really easily scale up our cluster or upgrade it. And the cool thing about GKE is it also takes care of the security. For example, you can access the metadata on a standard cluster, but GKE makes it possible for us to conceal that and to not expose it to the user, which is really required for us because we're doing isolation based on namespaces. Cloud storage, we use it a lot. Cloud SQL for the backend, so we don't run our own database services, but we use Cloud SQL for that. The container builder, as I explained, we don't build the containers ourselves, but that's all being done by the Google Container Builder. Container registry, we don't use Docker Hub, but we need to have it in the Google Cloud project, because we also have to make sure that as a user, you are allowed to pull that container. And not everyone can access their containers. As a company, when you have your own private environment, you cannot access the private containers of another company in the platform. Container registry, compute engine. So if you spin up a VM, you can also define that in the track description in the config. It spins up a VM on compute engine. And we use Firebase for the authentication, which also talks to our proxies, and we validate if you're the correct user and you are allowed to access the tracks. So the benefits for us are pretty obvious. We don't have to manage the infrastructure ourselves. Google takes care of that. We don't have to worry about scalability and security. And we think Google Kubernetes is still the best way to, Google GKE is still the best way to run Kubernetes. So, as I said, we use a lot of Terraform. Terraform is also key to our platform. And it's because it's cloud agnostic. With Terraform, you can specify, okay, I want to have this on that cloud provider, but I also want these resources on a Kubernetes cluster or these VMs, and connect that all together using Terraform. Terraform is declarative, as I said. You define what you want to accomplish and not how you want to accomplish it. So that's really important for us. Also, previewing changes. Terraform has a function, Terraform plan. And with Terraform plan, you can do a dry run of what's being created and validate that and compare it if it's really what you want to do. And as I said, the Terraform state is really important for us because we're also destroying the resources after the time of the participant has expired. So most likely after an hour when you start a track, after an hour all the infrastructure is gone already and you have to restart the track yourself. But that's the only way for us to scale it and to make it scalable worldwide and to offer this for free, of course. So how do we ourselves scale? Well, Instruqt aims to be open and free for developers. So if you're like, I'm good at this particular subject and I want to share my knowledge with the whole world, you could create your own content on the platform. We aim to keep it free. At some point, of course, we need to make money. But we really like the GitHub model in that. So once you have a team, and as a team you want to have your private content, you work together and then you pay us to have your private content. But as a developer, if you just want to publish something to the whole world or share it with communities, you can just use it and create your own content. So we need your help. We need more contributors. We need more people to contribute content to the platform. So if you're interested, just contact me. I'll be happy to send you the details of the SDK itself. And my last assignment is to choose the winner of the arcade challenge. If you haven't played yet, please do so, because I will be, what time is it? It's 2:30, I guess. A bit later, maybe. But I'll be at the booth for about an hour, and the person who is the highest ranking, he wins a limited edition t-shirt. The idea is that you solve challenges in a certain amount of time, and when you press the check button, you either complete the challenge if you did it correctly, or you lose a life and you have to do it again. But this is more like the gamification of learning and to make it more fun and also a bit competitive. Because we've learned that a lot of developers like to compete against each other, like to really show off their skills. So if you haven't played yet, please do so and please have a look. And if you want to contribute, we have a Slack channel. You can just join for free and join and ask us questions. And we'll provide you with the documentation of the SDK. And my contact details are over here. So, does anyone recognize himself on the leaderboard? We have a few one. What's your handle like? Let me quickly do this full screen. Well, you have a chance to still beat the first one, so it's still available. But this is my talk. I mean, it's a bit different for me because I did change the whole slide deck this morning and put it into the platform, which was a bit of a challenge to see how this works. So I'm also really curious on your feedback and if this really lands, or if you miss a lot of the points that I wanted to tell you. So are there any questions or feedback for me? One question. Yeah. Yeah, so right now we don't, and for the question was, can anyone just create content and create everything he wants with the platform? So the answer is, for now you can, but we don't push the SDK that much yet. So if you want to contribute, join our Slack channel. I'll provide you with the SDK link. So we keep it really like out of sight and really stealthy, so to say. And we want to collaborate with people that are willing to contribute on it. But the limits, right now, it's not limited. No. Sorry? It's a bit dangerous, but we want to learn. We want to learn where are the limits, what are people doing. And after that, we will enforce the limits and make it more confined indeed. But right now, it's all open. Yeah. More questions? In the back? Let me throw the microphone to you. Almost.
How many contributions have you yet had, if it's like kept stealthy so far?
I think we have, well, the cool thing is we have a company, a consultancy company around us, so we have a lot of people that are contributing within the company. But our end goal is to have the vendors on board, like Docker itself or Rancher or those vendors. They need to create content themselves. So for example, next week we are at Hashi Days and we are collaborating with the guys from HashiCorp to create content on the platform. So that's our end goal. For now, if you look at the contributions, I think we have like maybe 10 from the community. It's really low still, because it's really new and we really want to learn more about it and get your feedback. But we're also interested in what would motivate you to create content yourself. Maybe you can answer that question. Like when would you create content?
I don't know, maybe one feels comfortable with like really having the feeling of being good at something and being willing to provide that knowledge. But and maybe like having an overview and seeing, oh, there's something missing and I'm good at it. I don't know. So I think like you first need to have a good overview about what is there in order to see, oh, there's something like a gap that seems to me that needs to be filled, and I'm good at that. So something like that maybe.
Cool. So would it help to display your name and your like badge on there if you create the content yourself?
I don't know, probably not that much.
Okay, cool.
At least not to me.
Thanks for the input. More questions, more feedback. All right. I have no clue about the time. How many minutes do we have left? 3 minutes. Oh, that's nice. Oh, another question there.
Is it already possible to like edit existing challenges, or is this not the plan at all?
Well, if you are the owner of a track, then you are able to edit your own challenge. If not, you could specify in the track YAML, which I showed you, you can invite other developers and collaborate on it. So he will also have the access to push to that track. So you could collaborate with other guys on one track and edit the code. But you have to take care of the versioning yourself. Okay, if there are no more questions, thank you for your attention. And in about, what time is it right now? It's, okay. 2:30, I will hand out the t-shirt to the winner of the arcade machine. So if you're interested, come visit us at the arcade machine and see you then. 3:30, thank you.